What if I told you that the biggest obstacle standing between you and the life you want is not your circumstances, not your past, not even the people around you, but the person you are today? Think about that for a moment. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their situation, trying to chase success, happiness, and freedom. They read the books, watch the videos, set the goals, but very few people realize one powerful truth. The life you want requires a version of you that does not exist yet. And that's where the real challenge begins. Because growth is not just about adding new things to your life, it's about removing the old ones. The old habits, the old fears, the old mindset that kept you playing small. Growth asks you to walk away from the comfort of who you've always been and step into the uncertainty of who you're meant to become. And let's be honest, most people never make that leap. They stay where it's safe. They stay where it's familiar. They stay loyal to a version of themselves that can no longer take them where they want to go. But the people who change their lives, the people who build success, confidence, influence, and purpose, they understand something different. They understand that every new level of life requires a new level of identity, the stronger mindset, the disciplined habits, the courage to grow when everything inside you wants to stay the same. And that transformation comes with a price, because growth will cost you the person you used to be. It will challenge your beliefs. It will test your discipline. It will push you far beyond the comfort zone where most people choose to stay. But on the other side of that transformation is the life you've been searching for. So if you've ever felt like you're meant for more, if you feel that quiet voice inside telling you that your current life is only the beginning, then stay with me, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you see your future. Let's talk about the real cost of growth, and why becoming your greatest self always begins with leaving the old version of you behind. Growth requires letting go of the habits, beliefs, and identities that once felt comfortable but now quietly limit a person's potential. Every individual develops patterns of thinking and behavior over time, often shaped by past experiences, fears, and the expectations of others. These patterns may have served a purpose at an earlier stage of life, helping a person survive challenges or adapt to their environment. However, what once protected a person can later become the very barrier that prevents progress. True growth begins the moment a person recognizes that the version of themselves built in the past cannot fully support the future they desire. This realization demands honesty and self-awareness, because letting go is not simply about stopping a habit. It is about releasing a familiar identity. Many people cling to their old ways of thinking because they provide a sense of certainty and emotional security, even if those ways are holding them back. A person might hold on to limiting beliefs such as, "I'm not capable enough," "this is just who I am," or "change is too risky." These thoughts create invisible boundaries that quietly shape decisions and actions. When someone chooses growth, they must confront these beliefs and challenge the stories they have been telling themselves for years. Letting go also means releasing routines that no longer align with a higher vision. The comfort of procrastination, the habit of negative thinking, or the tendency to avoid responsibility may feel natural because they have been repeated for so long. Yet progress requires replacing these patterns with discipline, focus, and intentional action. The process is rarely easy because the human mind naturally resists change, preferring the safety of what is known rather than the uncertainty of transformation. In many cases, growth also requires distancing oneself from environments that reinforce the old version of who they were. People often become reflections of their surroundings, absorbing the attitudes, expectations, and limitations of those around them. If those influences support mediocrity or discourage ambition, holding on to them can quietly prevent personal development. Letting go does not necessarily mean rejecting the past or denying where a person came from. Rather, it means recognizing that the journey forward demands new thinking and new behavior. Every stage of life asks for a different version of the self, one that is stronger, more disciplined, and more aware. Growth therefore becomes a continuous process of shedding outdated layers and allowing a more capable identity to emerge. Transformation is rarely a smooth or comfortable experience because it forces a person to move beyond the boundaries of familiarity and certainty. Human beings naturally prefer stability, routines, and predictable environments because they provide a sense of safety and control. When growth begins to take place, these familiar patterns are disrupted, and the mind often interprets this disruption as discomfort or even fear. The process of change challenges the identity a person has built over time, and stepping away from that identity can feel like stepping into the unknown. Many individuals initially expect growth to feel exciting and motivating, but the deeper reality is that true transformation often brings confusion, doubt, and internal resistance. When someone begins to pursue a higher version of themselves, they may notice that the habits that once felt normal suddenly feel limiting, and the mindset that once seemed acceptable begins to clash with their new goals. This internal conflict creates tension because the mind is being asked to replace old patterns with new ones that require discipline, patience, and effort. The brain tends to resist this process because it prefers efficiency and familiarity. Repeating old behaviors requires less mental energy than building new habits. As a result, a person may feel moments of frustration, self-doubt, or fatigue while trying to change their thinking or behavior. Discomfort also arises because transformation often separates a person from the environment and expectations that once defined them. When someone begins to think differently, act more purposefully, or pursue goals that stretch beyond what others consider normal, they may face misunderstanding or criticism. This social pressure can intensify the feeling of uncertainty, making growth feel isolating at times. Yet this discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that change is taking place. Just as muscles grow stronger only after being challenged beyond their previous limits, the mind expands when it is pushed beyond familiar thinking patterns. The discomfort associated with transformation signals that the old identity is being reshaped and that new capabilities are developing. Over time, the actions that once felt difficult begin to feel natural as the mind adapts to higher standards of thinking and behavior. The individual gradually becomes more resilient, confident, and focused because they have learned to function beyond the comfort zone that once defined their limitations. The mindset a person develops acts as the central force that shapes their ability to grow, adapt, and reach higher levels of success. Every action, decision, and habit originates from the way a person thinks about themselves and the world around them. When the mind is conditioned by doubt, fear, or limiting beliefs, those thoughts quietly influence behavior, often causing a person to avoid challenges, underestimate their abilities, or settle for less than what they are capable of achieving. On the other hand, when someone cultivates a disciplined and purposeful mindset, they begin to view obstacles differently. Instead of seeing difficulties as signs to stop, they interpret them as opportunities to learn, adjust, and move forward with greater understanding. This difference in perception becomes the foundation of personal evolution, because growth is not simply about external circumstances, it is about the internal framework through which those circumstances are interpreted. A person with a strong mindset develops the habit of directing their thoughts rather than allowing their thoughts to control them. They become more aware of negative patterns and intentionally replace them with constructive thinking that supports their goals and long-term vision. Over time, this conscious control over thinking builds mental strength, allowing the individual to remain focused even when progress feels slow or uncertain. Discipline within the mind also encourages consistency, which is essential for meaningful development. Many people begin new pursuits with excitement but lose momentum when challenges arise because their thinking is easily influenced by temporary emotions or external opinions. A disciplined mindset provides stability during these moments, reminding a person of their deeper purpose and reinforcing the importance of persistence. It also shapes the way individuals interpret failure, transforming it from a personal defeat into a valuable source of feedback. Instead of viewing setbacks as proof of inadequacy, a growth-oriented mind treats them as information that can refine strategies and strengthen future efforts. This perspective gradually builds resilience and confidence, because the individual understands that progress is not defined by the absence of difficulty, but by the ability to continue learning and adapting. As the mindset becomes stronger and more intentional, it begins to influence every aspect of life, including habits, relationships, and long-term ambitions. The mind essentially becomes the blueprint for the person's evolution, guiding them toward behaviors and decisions that align with the higher version of themselves they are striving to become. Success is rarely achieved by simply wishing for better results while continuing to think and behave in the same way as before. Real advancement requires a shift in identity, where a person begins to adopt the mindset, habits, and standards of the individual they aspire to become. Many people approach success by focusing only on external goals such as money, recognition, or achievement, but the deeper truth is that these outcomes are usually the natural byproduct of a transformed identity. When someone continues to operate with the same beliefs, routines, and attitudes that shape their past, they often recreate the same results regardless of how strong their desires may be. Identity acts as the internal blueprint that guides decisions and behavior, meaning that if the blueprint remains unchanged, the outcomes tend to remain the same as well. This is why meaningful success often begins with a deliberate shift in how a person sees themselves. Instead of identifying with past limitations or previous failures, an individual begins to view themselves as someone capable of discipline, growth, and responsibility. This shift in self-perception gradually influences daily actions. A person who identifies as focused and determined will naturally seek productive habits, manage time more intentionally, and approach challenges with greater commitment. The change may appear subtle at first, but over time it reshapes patterns of behavior that ultimately determine results. Adopting a new identity also involves aligning actions with the standards of the person one wishes to become. If someone desires the success of a leader, an entrepreneur, or a highly disciplined individual, they must begin thinking and acting according to the principles that define those roles. This might include developing stronger work ethics, maintaining consistent routines, improving decision-making, and cultivating resilience during difficult moments. These behaviors are practiced repeatedly. They begin to feel natural rather than forced, gradually forming a new identity that reflects growth and maturity. The process does not happen instantly because identity is built through consistent action and reinforced beliefs. Each decision either strengthens the old version of the self or supports the emergence of a new one. Over time, the person who once struggled with doubt or inconsistency becomes someone who naturally embodies confidence, persistence, and clarity of purpose because their internal identity has evolved to match the level of success they are pursuing. Sacrifice is often the unseen cost behind every meaningful step forward in life, because progress requires giving up certain comforts, habits, and attachments that once felt normal. Many people admire success from a distance, noticing the achievements, recognition, or freedom that someone has gained, but they rarely consider the quiet trade-offs that made those outcomes possible. Advancement demands time, energy, focus, and discipline, and these resources are limited. When a person decides to pursue a higher goal, they must redirect these resources toward that vision, which means other things inevitably receive less attention or must be left behind entirely. Comfort is usually the first thing that must be sacrificed, because growth often requires stepping into situations that are uncertain, demanding, or mentally challenging. Activities that once filled hours with ease, such as unproductive routines or distractions, begin to conflict with the demands of progress. Letting go of these habits can feel difficult because comfort provides immediate satisfaction, while growth requires patience and consistent effort. Sacrifice may also involve giving up the approval of others who are more comfortable with the version of you that stayed the same. When someone begins to think differently, pursue larger ambitions, or adopt stricter discipline, the change can disrupt the expectations of people around them. Some individuals may question the new direction or interpret it as distance, which can create emotional tension. In certain situations, growth may require limiting time in environments that reinforce negativity or complacency, even when those environments once felt familiar. This type of sacrifice is not about rejecting people or experiences from the past, but about recognizing that not everything from the past can accompany the journey toward a different future. Personal advancement often demands a higher level of focus and responsibility, which means the individual must become selective about where their attention and energy are invested. Over time, these sacrifices reshape priorities and strengthen character, teaching the individual to value long-term progress over short-term comfort. The process also builds discipline, because each choice to stay committed to a goal reinforces the belief that the vision ahead is worth more than the convenience left behind. As these decisions accumulate, they gradually create the foundation for greater achievement, revealing that the willingness to give up certain comforts is often what opens the path to greater opportunities and personal development, the journey toward becoming a greater version of oneself, always demands courage, because growth requires stepping beyond the familiar boundaries that once defined comfort and security. Every person carries within them the potential to achieve more, think more deeply, and live with greater purpose, yet this potential often remains hidden until a deliberate decision is made to move forward despite uncertainty. Courage becomes essential at the very moment when a person realizes that remaining the same will no longer lead to the future they desire. Choosing growth means confronting fears that may have existed for years, including the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the fear of leaving behind the identity that once felt safe. These fears often create hesitation, seeing individuals that change is too risky or that their ambitions may not succeed. However, courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act even when fear is present. The future version of a person, the one who is more disciplined, confident, and capable, cannot emerge unless the present version is willing to take steps that feel unfamiliar or challenging. Each courageous decision becomes a small but powerful signal to the mind that progress is possible. This might involve pursuing opportunities that once seemed intimidating, expressing ideas with greater confidence, or committing to goals that require persistence and resilience. As these actions accumulate, the individual gradually builds a stronger sense of self-belief because they begin to see evidence of their own ability to grow. Courage also requires the strength to walk a path that others may not fully understand. When someone begins to pursue a higher vision for their life, they may encounter doubt or skepticism from those who are comfortable with the familiar patterns of the past. Standing firm in such moments demands inner conviction, because the direction of growth often becomes clear only through consistent action and patience. Over time, the repeated act of choosing courage transforms the individual's character, shaping them into someone who is guided more by purpose than by fear. The person who once hesitated at the edge of change gradually becomes someone who moves forward with clarity and determination, understanding that every step taken today is building the strength, wisdom, and confidence required for the life they are working to create. In conclusion, growth is not simply about gaining success, recognition, or achievement. It is about becoming a completely different version of yourself. The journey of transformation asks you to release old habits, outdated beliefs, and the comfortable identity that once defined who you were. It requires facing discomfort, developing a stronger mindset, and adopting the thinking and discipline of the person you aspire to become. Along the way, you may have to sacrifice certain comforts, environments, or expectations that no longer align with your vision for the future. None of this happens without courage, because stepping into a new version of yourself always requires moving beyond fear and uncertainty. Yet every challenge faced during this process shapes character, strengthens resilience, and prepares you for greater opportunities. The person you are becoming is not created overnight, but through consistent choices, disciplined thinking, and the willingness to grow beyond the limitations of the past. If there is one truth to remember, it is that growth will always demand change, and change will always require letting go of the person you once were. But that loss is not a defeat, it is the beginning of a greater identity waiting to emerge. Every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you are capable of creating. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect on this message. I truly wish you strength, courage, and clarity as you continue your journey of growth and transformation. Good luck on your path toward becoming the best version of yourself.